and their supply chain solutions for over a decade. Our company, the Vitech Business Group, has specialized in WMS and integrated voice solutions for over 17 years. We're a strategic practice partner of Accellos and provide companies like yours appropriate, reasonably priced turnkey solutions that help customers benefit from today's technologies. The Vitech Business Group is pleased to host our strategic partner Accellos for this webinar presentation. We can assure you that your time is of value to us. We plan to discuss some of the challenges faced by small and mid-sized organizations and how Accellos can help you prepare for and overcome those challenges to stay competitive and grow in this market. Presenting today will be Chad Collins, General Manager and Chief Marketing Officer at Accellos. Chad leads the sales, professional services, and customer support activities for Accellos warehouse management, EDI, barcode data collection product lines. Chad has over 15 years experience in marketing, building, and implementing these types of innovative supply chain software technologies and helping customers streamline their distribution and logistics operations. Notably, Chad is recognized as an innovator and leader in the supply chain industry. Chad was recently awarded the Pro to Know by Supply and Demand Chain Executive Magazine. If you have questions today, we would certainly like to entertain as many as possible. We ask that you use the chat box so we can field these questions appropriately, and we will try to answer as many as possible at the end of the session. With that said, thank you again for taking time out of your day. Here is Chad Collins from Accellos.
Hey, thanks, Dennis, and thanks everybody for joining this afternoon. Really appreciate your time. We'll hop right into it, and I think as most of you could probably relate to, managing distribution operations in small to mid-sized business is incredibly complex. And it may seem counterintuitive, but oftentimes it's easier in larger organizations and you have more resources than it is in a small to medium-sized business. Oftentimes in a small to medium-sized business, there's just pressure to do anything to win new business. Your senior leadership team is focused on growth, 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 and often doesn't have the same level of view on operational efficiencies. They know stuff needs to get done. You got to make shipments to your customers, but they tend to be more focused on growth than operational efficiencies. And an important note is oftentimes as a small to mid-sized business, you lack the supply chain power, meaning your customers are typically much larger organizations than you, have much more sophisticated supply chain teams, and you're really trying to do everything you can to meet their supply chain requirements. And you have fewer resources than the big guys. Oftentimes, the folks that work in operations at small to medium-sized business also have responsibilities in customer service, may also have responsibilities in sales. It's not like there are large teams of dedicated supply chain operations folks to work on these types of supply chain initiatives with your customers. And I think the key as somebody who works in supply chain day in and day out is you really have to have the foresight to predict what the complexities are in supply chain operations and make sure that you build processes and technologies so that as these requirements come up from your customers or you encounter new complexities due to the growth of your business, that you understand what the drivers are and not just a specific requirement that may come down the line from a customer or trading partner. You really have to use these drivers to help communicate the business value of your operational programs. So oftentimes, especially when you're in a small to medium-sized business that's consistently focused on growth, it can be difficult to justify business process improvement projects that are focused on operational efficiencies. But sometimes if you can tie them back to the drivers of complexity in distribution operations, it can help you justify those projects. And I think most importantly, and this is what we see sort of day in and day out with our customers, is really understanding the drivers of distribution complexity can help you move from being reactive to proactive. So if you really understand these drivers and build operational processes and systems to support those processes, and really no matter what your customers or trading partners or the corner office throws at you from a supply chain operations standpoint, you're going to have the infrastructure to support it. So let's jump right into what the drivers are. So what we see in small to medium-sized business is really these 5 things driving complexity in supply chain operations. The first one is customer compliance and customer compliance initiatives in the supply chain. The next one is new sales channels, then new product introduction, and then the need to do value-added activities in your distribution operations, and then finally working with a fuel-optimized supply chain, which is a consideration for all of us now given the rise in fuel costs. So let's chat a little bit about customer compliance. So as I mentioned before, typically small to medium-sized businesses just don't have the power in their supply chain relationships that larger organizations do. That means oftentimes if you have a large supplier, they're going to dictate how they ship products to you. If you are shipping to a large retailer, for example, they're going to dictate exactly how those products have to be shipped to them, and you're going to have to accommodate because typically that customer of yours is much larger and much more important. Their business, doing business with that large customer is much more important to your business than having you as a supplier is to their business. So you got to do what they ask for, and your customers' so-called supply chain best practices can often turn out to be your worst nightmare. So if you look at what a lot of organizations are asking of their suppliers, they're asking suppliers to move a lot of things upstream into the supplier's distribution process, so it streamlines things downstream for your customers' distribution compliance. So it's not necessarily a matter of the overall supply chain being more efficient. Oftentimes it's a matter of your customer pushing more of that work back on you, which creates complexity in your distribution operations. And then really looking at processes and technologies that can support a variety of customer compliance requirements. So if you sort of take a myopic view and say, hey, we just won this contract with Walmart, and Walmart has this one specific requirement about a label, and I'm just going to go out and find a specific solution to deliver a Walmart label on the boxes that I ship to Walmart, that's great. You might meet the Walmart requirement. But really, I think you need to think more broadly about, hey, when I win that next piece of business with Target, are they going to have a similar requirement? How am I going to support that requirement? And think more broadly about putting in place processes and technologies that are going to support a variety of customer compliance requirements. So this next slide just shows you a few of the things that we typically see with our customers that are specific programs that are driving distribution complexity, and the things are largely around customer compliance. So we see a lot of requirements for store-ready pallets. This is where your customer expects you to ship a specific pallet configuration. Even though you may be shipping it to a distribution center of theirs, they want to flow it through and take it directly to a store. So you have to have a specific configuration at the store level, and even in some cases down to a specific region or department within the store, and configure that specific pallet ready so that it can flow through and go directly to a store to be unloaded. A huge one that we see is compliance labeling. So you have to really be able to ensure that you have a method for assigning customer-specific labels or even at a customer drop ship location to the specific outbound process in the warehouse. Another big one that we see is electronic order and shipment notifications. So really ensuring that you have an integrated warehouse management and EDI capability that allows you to receive orders electronically via EDI from your customers, be able to operate on those orders in the warehouse, be able to understand which products are going in which shipping containers and put on which pallets, and then electronically communicate that advanced shipment notice with the pallet level detail to your customer. Another big one that we see is customer visibility, so really ensuring that you have the supply chain systems that allow your customers who are now mandating visibility to their inbound shipments, the ability to go in and get visibility to those shipments, whether you provide that electronically via EDI or allow them to come into a portal to view their shipments. And then finally, one that we're seeing a lot more of now are drop ship requirements. So this is a situation where your customer actually takes an order on behalf of the consumer, passes that order back to you, and expects you to fulfill that order directly to the consumer on their behalf. So if you think of some of the complexities there, now you may even need to in that shipment, put a pack slip in there that looks as if that order was shipped from the retailer's distribution center, even though it's going direct to a consumer. And we see this not only in retail, but we're starting to see this in some other wholesale distribution areas where people are outsourcing their distribution and pushing that back to their suppliers to reduce costs in their own supply chain. So really having this ability to ship to your customer's customer is becoming increasingly important for small to mid-sized distribution companies. So the next driver, so that was really the driver that drives a lot of complexity around customer compliance. The next one that adds complexity to distribution operations are new sales channels. So, you know, everyone is buying goods in different ways now. We have, you know, online shopping, in-store pickup. You know, technology is just really affecting the way that consumers do business, and that those new sales models are really driving more complexity back into the distribution operation. So while this can be a huge growth driver for your business, and the sales and marketing arms of your companies may be very excited about opening up these new channels, it can really drive some complexity. So one of the core challenges and questions that we see our customers dealing with, especially customers that have historically been distribution focused, shipping to other distribution centers or out to retail locations, typically shipping pallets and cases. A lot of these companies are now opening up online offerings, starting to get orders that are of small quantities, pick-pack type orders. And a core question is, you know, how can you fulfill multiple channels of orders from a single facility? And oftentimes, really what you need here is a technology in the warehouse that enables you to be able to fulfill those orders from multiple channels simultaneously from the same inventory from the same facility. So here's just a listing of some typical types of order profiles that you may see from different channels. So typical one is wholesale, you know, typically shipping you know, from a manufacturing location, say, into your customers' distribution facilities or to retail stores, but again, sort of larger shipments, case and pallet shipments. Then direct to consumer. So here, typically order line quantities of sort of 1 to 3 smaller orders, pick-pack operations, pulling inventory, packing it on the back end, shipping it out via parcel. Obviously, a lot different in many cases than shipping out full pallets. A lot of retail replenishment orders, which can be, you know, both small parcel and going direct to store in small pallet quantities. We see a number of spare parts. Companies that are traditionally shipping out large equipment, maybe palletfuls of large equipment, but then they have a small spare parts business as well. And those are typically completely different order profiles, but we often see them wanting to fulfill that from the same distribution center. And then we get into some more other complex order profiles around consignment, where you actually don't take ownership of the inventory until you ship it. And another one that could add some complexity is export, where you have to prepare shipments in specific ways with specific documentation to be able to export it. The other complexity that we see is around new product introduction, and here are a few keys that we've identified in terms of dealing with new product introductions around your distribution operations. So one of the key things is collaborating with that marketing team. A lot of times we see at customers, there's just not a lot of communication between the distribution operations folks and the marketing folks. So what that results in is not understanding what products are going to end up flowing through that warehouse. So encourage you to share information about sales forecasts on new products, what the expected inventory levels are on new products, and what new suppliers you're going to deal with, and what level of quality inspection, what product dimension information you're going to have on new products. And then finally, I'd say one of the keys here around new product introductions, a lot of times I'll walk around a warehouse of a customer, and you'll kind of look around and you'll see inventory stacked high in some section of the warehouse, all of the same product, and you'll say, what's that? Well, this was this new product that we introduced 6 months ago. Really hasn't sold that well, but the inventory is, taking up a bunch of space in our warehouse. I'd say, as somebody from the warehouse side, if you've got some new product introductions that were just dogs, don't make sure that doesn't overtake your warehouse, right? If things really aren't going to be moving, don't let them tie up all your warehouse operation space. The fourth driver that we see that really introduces complexity into distribution operations is this push for value-added distribution. So especially as many supply chains have moved from sort of manufacturing-centric more to distribution-centric, meaning the goods are actually being produced some other portion of the world and then brought to North America for distribution, a lot of times there's value-added services that may have historically been done in the manufacturing process that are now needing to be done in the distribution process. So some light manufacturing or kitting or assembly, repackaging of product, some type of monogramming or other personalization that goes to the product at the point of distribution, quality inspection that's required before you can ship to your customers, and then building sort of store-ready pallets that may include hangers or security tags. All of these things are value-added services that increasingly are needed to be performed in the distribution operation. So what you really want to make sure that you have from a business process and technology standpoint is a foundation that allows you that no matter how your supply chain configuration changes or what your next requirement is from your customer, that you can quickly take on these value-added services and be able to fulfill those customer requirements. And in a lot of cases, if you have a sophisticated distribution operation that can handle value-added services, you may be able to get a price premium or differentiate from your competition by being able to provide these value-added distribution services that your competition just can't do. And then sort of the fifth driver that we see that adds complexity to distribution for small to mid-sized business is just this increasing focus on fuel costs as part of the supply chain. So they say that, for every $10 increase in oil is resulting in a 4 cents per mile increase in transportation. And we used to see companies really consolidating their distribution operations, maybe in a national distribution center or 2 distribution centers nationally. What we're seeing as a result is that the transportation costs are really affecting the network strategies of companies, even small to mid-sized businesses that may have only had, one warehouse servicing all of North America. We even see smaller companies taking a strategy where they're putting smaller warehouses closer to the customer to reduce transportation costs. And anytime you move from a single facility into multiple facilities, it does become more complex. You really want, your folks that are managing the operations can't be in multiple places at one time. You really want to have a system in place that helps support visibility to your operations and helps standardize processes across multiple facilities. And the last bullet is obviously with the cost of fuel and the resulting cost of transportation, you want to look at the ability of integrating some transportation operations into your distribution processes, so you're not only going out and procuring transportation, but you're procuring the least cost transportation that satisfies your needs. So I'm going to pause there and circle back now on the 5 drivers and sort of tie those in. But I think the key point around those 5 drivers is, we work every day with small to medium-sized businesses, and oftentimes they get surprised by new things that cause complexity in their distribution operations. And in almost every case, we can map those back to one of those 5 drivers that cause that specific challenge or complexity in their distribution operations. So now I'm going to explain a little bit about Accellos and our products, and then what I'll do is explain how those products can help a company overcome some of those challenges with those complexities of distribution for a small to mid-sized company. So Accellos is really the market leader in supply chain software for small to mid-sized business. The company was founded on a mission to deliver solutions for small to mid-sized business. it just really seemed that there were certainly supply chain technologies out there, but they were really engineered for large enterprises, and it made it very challenging for these small to mid-sized businesses, which, as I just described, often have the same complexities as the large guys, to find something that would be able to solve their challenges but not be a multi-million-dollar solution with a 2-year implementation cycle. So when Accellos was founded, it really had this vision of servicing small to mid-sized businesses. Accellos has grown substantially. We now have 750 WMS customers in North America and 3,000 customers worldwide across all our product lines. And one of the things that we do to really help focus in on the needs of small to mid-sized business is deliver pre-packaged integrations of our supply chain solutions with many of the accounting or ERP packages that small to mid-sized businesses are running. So we have pre-packaged integrations with Microsoft, Sage, SAP, and NetSuite ERP systems. We do, because we're the market leader, we do have some scale and size over many of the other providers of supply chain technology to small to medium-sized business, meaning that we can be a trusted partner for you for the long term. We're a $40 million company of over 200 employees. We've built our product in combination of building new technologies from scratch on what we call the Accellos One technology platform, and where it's made sense, we've acquired companies to bring in complementary technologies that offer a broader solution for our customers. And we have certified partners throughout the world. We have our practice partner, of which Vitech, who is our host today, is a certified practice partner of Accellos, meaning that in a lot of cases you can have our products installed and be serviced by someone local to you and someone who already knows your business. So we're not the only ones who have thought that Accellos was able to differentiate itself in supply chain technologies for small to medium-sized business. This was really validated by Gartner in their Magic Quadrant for warehouse management systems, where Accellos was positioned as one of the visionaries and, quite frankly, a leader in all of the other supply chain technology providers that focus on small to medium-sized business. And you can see from some of the comments that the analysts at Gartner made about Accellos is that we really are focused on small to medium business. We have a strong value proposition and a low total cost of ownership, which are key elements for small to medium-sized business. And it's really been designed from the start with a user interface and implementation methodology and product sophistication that's really designed for small to medium-sized business. We didn't just take a product that was designed for the big guys and turn off certain features and say this is for the small guys now. It's really designed from the ground up for small to medium-sized business. And while we've been talking a lot about distribution operations and warehouse operations, we really do bring a complete set of solutions. Really, so everything from the inbound trading partner enablement, meaning really how do you work with your suppliers, how do you communicate what you want to purchase to your suppliers, how do you get shipment visibility of your supplier shipments into you, the inbound transportation piece all the way into the warehouse. Obviously, we go deep into the warehouse and manage all the warehouse operations. We can handle the outbound transportation, whether that's truckload, LTL, or parcel transportation, and then communicating with your customers on the outbound side via EDI and other electronic communication mechanisms to collaborate about orders and inventory with your customers. And so that's really the workflow, and then that's supported by a number of technologies on what we call the Accellos One platform that can provide you a mobile experience, visibility into all your supply chain operations, and just as importantly, analytics, KPIs, and dashboards, so at any given time you understand what's going on in your supply chain operations. This next slide, I won't talk about every product, but I want you to just get a sense of the breadth of the Accellos solutions. We talk a lot about the core components there in warehouse management. We do offer our warehouse management solution both on-premise and in the cloud, but we also offer a number of complementary products around EDI and collaboration, transportation management, dock door scheduling, visibility, product inspection, all of which are complementary and built on the same technology platform as the warehouse management solution. So let's sort of tie this all together now. So we talked at the beginning about probably a number of challenges that you guys are facing and really what's driving that in the 5 drivers of distribution complexity for small to medium-sized business. You got a little bit of commercial around Accellos and Vitech, but probably just as importantly, highlighting the products that we provide. So let's tie that together now, and let's look at the drivers and look at how these can be addressed with both business process and technology. I will not claim that technology is sort of the silver bullet here that's going to solve all the problems, but it certainly helps automate and support the growth of your business as you deal with these drivers of complexity. So around customer compliance, obviously you want solutions that have integrated compliance labeling and documents. So you sort of never know what the new compliance label or documentation requirement is going to be from your customers, and especially as you move into drop shipping, there can be additional pack slip and other document requirements. You want a solution that really allows you to handle all those labeled and document requirements. You also want to be able to have a configurable outbound process so that you're able to label product, marry documents with product, and handle that on the outbound processing side of your warehouse. You definitely want to look at, especially if you're shipping to retailers, which many small to medium-sized businesses are, integrated GS1 labeling and ASN requirements. So if you're shipping to somebody who requires advanced shipment notice, typically they'll also require a GS1 label on the product, and you really want to find distribution solutions that support that whole workflow, and really the ability to integrate into EDI, whether it's a solution like Accellos that has integrated EDI, or the ability to integrate to other EDI providers. So that's sort of some of the things that you would be able to address with technology related to customer compliance. Related to new sales channels, you really want to look at the ability to manage different order profiles simultaneously. And what I mean by order profiles is, you know, distribution operations are all pretty easy if you're bringing pallets in, storing them, and shipping pallets out. When you get into multiple order profiles where you may have some pallet shipments, you may have case shipments, you may have direct-to-consumer parcel shipments, you know, once those order profiles get more diverse, you really want to look at some tools in the warehouse that allow you to plan for those, build waves based on different order profiles, and then handle the picking operations based on the different order profiles simultaneously. You want the ability to position your inventory different based on changing demand patterns. So obviously if you're working across multiple sales channels, the demand patterns in each one of those sales channels may be different, and you want to be able to have the tools to have inventory visibility and then be able to position that inventory either, you know, across warehouses or even within the 4 walls of the warehouse differently based on those changing demand profiles. And you really want the ability to be able to simultaneously manage multiple fulfillment models from the same facility. So I think long gone are the days, especially with smaller businesses, where you can say, we're moving into e-commerce and we're going to open up a new e-commerce warehouse. That just doesn't fly anymore. The expectation today is that if you're going to handle, you know, multiple shipment types, that you'll be able to pool your inventory and pool your space and manage those different shipment types from the same facility. Around new product introduction, you really want to position new products, again, based on the changing demand patterns, which can be very fluctuous with new product introductions, and utilize warehouse data and historical information to predict space requirements and demand patterns of new products. Value-added distribution, it's really critical that your distribution warehouse processes support the ability to do kitting and packaging operations within the WMS, so you can track that in an automated method. And you also want the flexibility in a warehouse management system so that you can go and offer those value-added services to your customers. And then finally, with the fuel-optimized supply chain, really utilizing transportation optimization and shipping add-ons to really gain control of that transportation expense, which is becoming a significant portion of the cost of delivering goods to your customers as fuel costs have been rising. So just to sum things up before we go into the Q&A, and I think we've had a few questions roll in here. You guys, if you're interested in this topic about distribution complexity, you're sort of where the rubber meets the road, especially if you're in a small to medium-sized business. There really is an opportunity here for you to be what we call a supply chain hero. So really being a distribution leader in a small to medium-sized business, we all know it's challenging, but there's an opportunity that if you're able to predict many of the challenges that you'll have, and frankly, I think those challenges are all going to point back to one of these 5 drivers, you'll be able to build business processes supported by technology that allow you to deal with these different things. Because, you shouldn't necessarily look at the next project around a customer compliance requirement or the next project around a new sales channel as something unique and specific. It comes back to enabling processes and technologies that will not only support that next new customer requirement, but will support the next 5 or 10 customer requirements, and not just support shipping of spare parts, but will also support shipping when you open a new e-commerce website. So I think that's kind of how distribution professionals need to be thinking about how they enable their business for the scalability and growth that you need as a flexible small to medium-sized business. So I'll stop now, and I think Nick has gotten a few questions over the chat here, and he'll bring those forward. Feel free, if you do have questions about any of this content, I think there's a chat window in the WebEx. You can just type in your question, as many of you have done already, and Nick will queue that up, and we'll answer a few of them here.
Yep, so the first question that we have is, we ship to big box retailers like Target and Walmart. What do you have that helps us?
Yeah, so obviously being a supplier to a big box retailer can be challenging. There are a number of requirements around how product is packaged, labeled, and shipped, and probably just as importantly, how you do transact business with that big box retailer, meaning that they expect to be able to send you orders via EDI. They expect that as you will acknowledge those orders via EDI, that you will prepare those shipments appropriately in your warehouse, and you'll be able to send them an advanced shipment notice electronically via EDI, and that you'll be able to handle the invoicing and remittance automatically via EDI. And with Accellos solutions, we really handle that whole fulfillment process to a big box retailer with our solutions. So our EDI solutions will handle all the EDI transactions, and then the warehouse product will handle all the product label printing, as well as sort of validating the application of the labels within the fulfillment process, and building up the container level detail so you can send that advanced shipment notice. So really, the Accellos solutions will handle that whole fulfillment workflow for a big supplier to a big box retailer.
Another question we have is, what ERP systems do you integrate with?
Yeah, good question. So I mentioned a couple of those early in the presentation, but what's really important to small to medium sized businesses who want to get going on one of these projects quickly is that they don't spend a lot of time, we don't need to spend a lot of time integrating the 2 systems. So we offer packaged integrations to all 4 of the Microsoft ERP, GP, AX, SL, and NAV. We have productized integrations to Sage 100, 300, 500, and Sage Pro. We have a NetSuite integration, as well as SAP Business One and Acumatica. So this really does, by having thought through the way the ERP or accounting system is going to work with the WMS ahead of time and delivering that as a packaged solution, it really does shorten the time to implement the product and take a lot of the complexity out of the integration between the 2 systems. Any more, Nick?
Yep, we have a few more. Can voice operations be integrated with WMS?
Another good question. So we are seeing a lot of companies turn to voice based on the accuracy of voice, the fact that voice is hands-free, eyes-free, and quite frankly, in most cases, faster than other order picking methods like RF or pick-to-light. And we do have a standard integration between our warehouse management system and the Vocalect voice technology. And Vitech, who's our host today, is the provider of the voice solutions for the Accellos WMS.
What is a typical implementation time frame?
So it does vary based on the number of facilities, the number of users, the overall complexity of the distribution operations. But in general, a implementation that would address many of these complexities in a standard warehouse for a small to medium-sized business would be between 2 months and 4 months.
Can your system support e-commerce?
Yeah, absolutely. There are some unique requirements in terms of how orders flow into the WMS, and then pick-pack operations and shipping. But we definitely have a number of customers that are running e-commerce operations, and many that are doing sort of traditional distribution and e-commerce out of the same facility. And we're unique in the small to medium-sized business technology providers. That we're really the only ones that provide integrated warehouse management and parcel shipping out of the same solution. And obviously, parcel shipping is a critical component for an e-commerce distribution operation.
And the last one that we have is, could you mention the integration framework for those that don't have the standard integrations that you mentioned?
Yeah, no, good point. So we do offer those prepackaged integrations, but for those who either want to integrate to a legacy system, a different ERP, we offer a standard API for the ins and outs of the warehouse, so orders and inventory that can be flat file or XML based.
That's all the questions we have for now.
All right. Well, thanks for your questions, guys. Dennis, I think I'll hand it back over to you to close things out.
Yes. Good afternoon, and thank you once again for joining us this afternoon. And Chad, thank you very much for taking the time to go into the detail that you did. I think we gave a very good overview of the 5 drivers. Certainly, and Sean, if we could move to the last slide. If there are questions that do arise, we certainly would like to take an opportunity to address maybe your issues directly or your questions directly. My contact information is here on the screen. We're Vitech Business Group. As Chad mentioned, we're a practice partner of Accellos. We are a North American company. Our corporate offices are located in Bellingham, Washington, but we have offices throughout central, eastern, and southwestern United States. So with that said, thank you all very much for joining us today. We look for an opportunity to talk with you in the future. Have a great day. Thank you.